My name is Callum Hawthorne. I'm 36, the youngest son of one of Chicago's oldest and most ruthless real estate dynasties. You'd think that meant power, protection, or at the very least, a seat at the family table. But while my brother Julian was always the golden boy, the heir, the strategist, the one they photographed for Forbes, I was the mistake they dressed up as a footnote. Even growing up in a mansion with more staff than relatives, I never once felt at home. And trust me, there's nothing lonelier than being the unwanted son in a family obsessed with legacy. I thought I'd come to terms with being the outsider. Until the night they slammed the door in my face and pretended I never existed. I should have seen it coming. After all, Christmas Eve is a perfect time to bury someone, especially if what they're trying to kill isn't your body, but your name. The snow hadn't let up for hours. It clung to the edges of the manicured driveway like frostbite, the kind that lingers long after the nerves have gone numb. The family estate in Winnetka stood like a frozen cathedral in the dark, gleaming, cold, unfeeling. Lights glittered from every window. Warmth and laughter leaked through the glass like ghosts of a life I used to pretend was mine. I stood at the threshold with a leather duffel bag slung over my shoulder. I didn't bring gifts. Didn't bring apologies either. Only silence. The door opened halfway. My mother's silhouette filled the gap. She didn't blink. Didn't smile. "Callum," she said. "Not Cal. Not son." I didn't reply. She looked past me, scanning the snow-covered Mercedes I had driven from the airport. "You're not on the guest list." My breath fogged in front of my face. "It's Christmas Eve." Her voice didn't waver. "You weren't invited. Go home." Then, click. She shut the door. The echo of the deadbolt locking was louder than the wind. For a second, I stood frozen, hands still hovering where the knob had been. I stared at the carved initials on the mahogany wood, my grandfather's handiwork. He carved those letters the year I was born. They'd rather erase that too. The lights inside flickered with motion, champagne glasses lifted, polished shoes stepping onto marble. And there, through the beveled glass of the side window, I saw him. Julian. Smiling, flanked by board members from the Hawthorne Foundation, laughing with someone who looked like a young senator. He'd taken my spot. My future. My name. Inside that house, I was already a ghost. I turned back to the car. The snow crunched underfoot, but everything else was still. Too still. My phone vibrated in my coat pocket. Block number. I almost let it go. But I answered. Static. Then. They planned this. You were never meant to be part of the inheritance. Click. I stared at the screen. No trace. No name. No number. The Mercedes engine roared to life. Heated seats did nothing for the fire rising in my gut. Halfway down the driveway, headlights cut through the snow. I passed a black SUV pulling in, tinted windows, license plate covered in ice. Security? Guest? I didn't slow down. A voice echoed in my head. One I hadn't heard since I was 13. You were born into the wrong house, Kel. Not everything with your name on it belongs to you. By the time I hit the main road, the estate disappeared behind pine trees. I didn't cry. Didn't shout. But the silence was louder than any storm. If they wanted me gone, then fine. But I'd already left them long before they closed that door. The plane touched down in Aspen like a blade through ice. Wind howled against the fuselage, and the pilot's voice crackled over the intercom, a warning about incoming weather, dropping temperatures, whiteout by morning. Perfect. I didn't check a bag. Didn't need one. The villa was already stocked, clothes, food, security tech. I designed it for isolation, not comfort. A bunker disguised as luxury. Outside, the car service waited, headlights slicing through the flurries. The driver didn't speak. Didn't have to. He knew who I was. Or thought he did. Snow fell harder the farther we drove into the mountains. My name still rang in the corporate circles Julian hadn't poisoned. But in this town, in this house, I was invisible. That was the point. We pulled into the driveway. The villa stood like a cathedral carved from obsidian and glass, nestled into the ridge. One side faced the world. The other stared into the trees. I keyed the code into the gate. The system beeped once. Then again. Longer this time. No green light. I tried again. Access denied. You sure this is your place? The driver muttered, eyeing me in the rear view. Open the trunk. He didn't argue. I popped the hidden panel beneath the floorboards. Pulled out the manual override key. Inserted it beneath the main pad. Click. Door unlocked. Inside, it was colder than it should have been. The heating system was smart. It should have activated remotely when I pinged the location from O'Hare. Something was wrong. I stepped inside. The lights flickered on. Dim, delayed. Sensors reacting a beat too late. I set my duffel down. Scanned the room. The framed photo by the stairs, me and grandfather on the sailboat in Lake Geneva, was upside down. No broken glass. No wind draft. Someone had flipped it. I took 3 steps toward it, then stopped. On the hallway mirror, in fading condensation, was one sentence. Wrong son. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. This wasn't a robbery. This wasn't vandalism. This was a message. The kind meant for one person only. My phone buzzed. Marin Blake. I hesitated. Then answered. You're 2 days early, she said. You watching me? I set the villa to notify me on breach attempts. You tripped 3 systems already. Explain. Your heating override was blocked. Backup generator accessed from the outside. Someone tried, successfully, to clone your entry key 2 days ago. Then why the hell didn't you tell me? A pause. Then, because I thought it was you. Silence. And then she added, but when I saw the log times. And what's missing, I knew it wasn't. What's missing? She didn't speak. I walked into the study. The locked drawer in the desk was open. Empty. Gone, the sealed envelope marked Last Testament, H.R. Hawthorne. My grandfather's backup copy of his will. And just like that, every hair on my arm stood up. You need to come here, I said. I'm already outside, Marin replied. The doorbell rang. Cut to black. I opened the front door. Marin stood there in a black coat, snow in her hair, a pistol holstered under her jacket. Not paranoia. Protocol. She looked at me like someone checking for wounds. You okay? No, I said. Someone was in here. They're probably not done. She stepped in. I locked the door behind her. She walked straight to the living room window, drew the curtain slightly. Nothing but trees. Except. She pointed. A small red laser dot danced across the far glass, then vanished. They're watching. I felt the floor drop beneath me. Julian? I asked. I don't think it's just Julian anymore, she said. You need to see this. She pulled a flash drive from her pocket. Plugged it into the media port. The TV lit up. A folder of image files. Email chains. Bank statements. One photo made my blood freeze. It was the deed to my Aspen villa. Signed. Stamped. Filed. But not by me. The signature was mine. Perfectly forged. I cross-checked the notary. She's real, Marin said. But she died 6 months ago. That's a federal crime. Try 10 of them, she said. He's not just stealing your name, Cal. He's building a case to erase you entirely. The fire alarm chirped. Smoke in the kitchen. We rushed in. A burner had been turned on. No flame. No pot. Just gas. I slammed the knob off. Checked the carbon monoxide monitor. Disabled. What the hell is this? A message, Marin said. Another ping from my phone. New message. No contact. They know you're alone. They know you're vulnerable. Run. The villa wasn't my escape, it was the battlefield. And the war had already begun without me. The burner phone lit up the room with an eerie blue. Marin stared at it like it might explode. I swiped open the message. One file. No sender. Play it, Marin said. I did. A guest list appeared on screen, clean, sharp, high-res. Hawthorne Family Christmas. Next to each name, a colored dot. Green for approved. Yellow for pending. Red for denied. Mine? Red. Julian's? Green with a gold star. I scrolled down. 2 names I didn't recognize. Liam Cross. Kendall Voss. What the hell is this? I asked. Marin exhaled. I've seen this format before. It's corporate security protocol. Used for internal risk ratings. I looked at her. You mean threat levels? Exactly. I stood up. My body buzzed with cold. Or adrenaline. I'm not just disowned. I'm marked. She didn't answer. Because she knew. I tossed the burner on the table. Who leaked this? No one leaked it, she said. It was sent. To me? To bait you. Cut scene. We sat in silence for a beat. Only the hum of the backup generator and the occasional hiss of snow hitting glass. Then Marin stood. Pulled out a flash drive from her jacket. This just came in from an encrypted channel I used to monitor Julian's offshore moves. She plugged it in. A folder. 3 items. Email chain between Julian and a shell company registered in Belize. A scanned document with my signature. A bank authorization for full transfer of Aspen property, scheduled for December 26th. He's preloading the assets, Marin said. Transferring the villa to the same holding firm he used for your shares. That's illegal. Not if you signed it. I didn't. You did. On paper. I took a step back. A name blinked at me from the signature field. Calamarv Hawthorne. My middle initial was wrong. That was the tell. But to a bank, to a clerk, that mistake wouldn't matter. Unless I proved it. Where's the notary stamp? Dead. 6 months ago. Heart attack in Sedona. I clenched my fists. Julian forged my entire life. No. He's erasing it. Cut scene. I paced the room. 1 breath. 2. Marin watched me. Said nothing. Then, there's one place that still has your original biometrics on file. Don't say the bank. She nodded. Midwest Federal. Main branch. In Chicago. Where else? Cut. I grabbed my jacket. We're not going to Chicago. Her brow lifted. Then where? To find the one person who knows where the original deed was hidden. Marin narrowed her eyes. Who? Jesse Klein. Grandfather's old estate manager. She shook her head. He disappeared after the funeral. No, I said. He disappeared 3 days before. Cut. We drove fast. Black SUV. No plates. The cabin rattled from the wind and ice. Marin checked the mirror every 30 seconds. At one point, headlights appeared behind us. Then vanished. They're not following, she said. Not yet. We reached a frozen trailhead outside the forest. Just a wooden sign, Clefro's cabin. Snow halfway up the door. I banged twice. Silence. Again. Still nothing. I turned the knob. Unlocked. Marin stepped in first. Flashlight sweeping the room. A desk. A cot. A fireplace. Still warm. Jesse had been here. Marin pointed to a drawer. There. I yanked it open. A manila folder. Inside, hard copies. Banking logs. Original draft deeds. Asset transfer instructions in grandfather's own handwriting. But then, boom. The window shattered. A Molotov cocktail hit the far wall. Fire burst up like an open mouth. Marin dragged me down. We crawled to the back door. Another explosion. Gasoline. Time charges. We kicked through the back exit, tumbled into the snow. Behind us, the cabin became a torch. Jesse? Gone. And with him, the one witness who could have proved I wasn't the fraud Julian claimed I was. Marin helped me to my feet. Her hands trembled. But her voice didn't. We have less than 48 hours before everything you are disappears. 2,000 miles wasn't far enough. They brought the fire right to my door. We didn't speak for 10 minutes after the fire. Snow hissed around us as the last of the cabin collapsed in flame. My ears still rang from the explosion. The file Jesse had hidden, ashes. My last witness, gone. Marin leaned against a pine tree, face pale. Her hand hovered near her sidearm. I knew that look. Not fear. Readiness. You smell that? She asked. I nodded. Kerosene. This wasn't rage. It was planned. Premeditated. Cold-blooded. We moved. Fast. Back to the car. The windshield was cracked, pressure line across the glass like a spiderweb. It's a warning, I said. No, Marin muttered. It's bait. She pointed to the rearview mirror. A single wire. Thin. Taped underneath. She pulled it down. Mic'd. They heard everything. My stomach dropped. Drive. Cut scene. We reached the villa just past midnight. The silence wasn't calming, it was calculated. Inside, the lights flickered again. The fireplace was out. Marin swept the perimeter with a scanner from her coat. Clean, she said. For now. I went to the den. Opened the backup lockbox in the floor. Gone. The flash drive. The second deed copy. My passport. Whoever had been here knew where I hid things. It's not theft, Marin said behind me. It's substitution. They don't need your stuff. They just need to plant enough fakes to bury you. I sat on the floor. There's a quote I used to hate, one Julian loves to repeat like gospel: power doesn't erase bloodlines. It just makes you forget who they belong to. Now I understood it. He didn't want my name. He wanted to rewrite it. Marin's phone buzzed. 1 bar. Ping from a dark channel, she said. Encrypted email. No sender. Just a single phrase in the subject line. Wrong son. Right time. Attached was a zip file. Password protected. 3 guesses what it contained. Marin cracked the encryption within minutes. She didn't ask how I got the password. Raven Rock. The name of the first boat my grandfather ever gave me. Inside, surveillance photos. Me. The villa. The Chicago estate. Even a shot of me at grandfather's funeral. And one image I hadn't expected. Julian. Not shaking hands with a lawyer, but with Detective Nolan Carr, ex-FBI, now a private consultant for asset security firms. Marin inhaled sharply. He's the one who buried that case in D.C. 2 years ago. The case involving offshore laundering. Involving the same Belize shell company Julian used. She looked at me. We're not dealing with family drama anymore, Cal. We're dealing with a takedown, I said. No, she corrected. We're dealing with a kill order. Cut scene. We were halfway through setting up emergency encryption on all my accounts when the power cut. Complete black. No backup hum. No emergency lights. And then the front door creaked open. Slow. Deliberate. I raised the pistol. Marin was already moving, silent, low to the floor, sidearm ready. Footsteps. 2. No more. Then a voice. Soft. Almost familiar. You should have stayed in Chicago, Cal. I froze. That voice hadn't touched my ears in 5 years. I stepped forward. A figure emerged from the darkness. Hood pulled back. Rain-drenched hair. Eyes like I remembered. Lawrence? I breathed. He didn't flinch. My childhood best friend. The one who vanished after college. The one I thought was dead. He stepped forward. Gun in his hand. Not raised. Not aimed. But loaded. I was never gone, he said. Just repurposed. Julian bought you. No. He built me. He looked at Marin. Then at me. I came to deliver a message. From Julian? No. From me. I didn't move. You're not supposed to win this, Lawrence said. You're supposed to disappear quietly. And if I don't? His jaw tightened. He lifted the gun. Paused. And then, without a word, fired. To the side. Glass shattered. A red dot blinked on the wall behind me. Sniper. Lawrence turned and fired again, this time, into the darkness outside. Return fire sliced through the entryway. Marin dove, dragging me with her. We hit the floor. Wood splintered around us. You brought them here. I shouted. Lawrence was already back at the door. They were already watching, he said. He tossed me a flash drive. Backup of Jesse's files. You'll need it before Chicago. Why help me? His eyes flicked to the doorway. Because Julian didn't kill me. He made me. He stepped outside. Vanished into snow. If Julian could turn my oldest friend into a weapon, what else was he hiding up his tailored sleeves? Marin didn't speak for the first hour of the drive. Neither did I. The flash drive Lawrence tossed me felt radioactive in my pocket. She kept glancing at the rearview mirror. I knew what she was thinking. We weren't alone on the road. We never were. Cut scene. We reached the satellite office of Fiona Mayweather just past dawn. A converted bank vault in downtown Aspen. Reinforced walls. No windows. It looked like a bunker for lawyers. She greeted us with a tight nod and let us in without a word. Do you know how many times I've risked my license for your grandfather? She said. Let's not make this another. I handed her the drive. Don't open it. Just copy and lock it. I want redundancy. Fiona inserted it into her terminal. The screen lit up. Bank records. Internal memos. Emails from Julian to Shell accounts. One file stood out, timestamped 3 weeks ago. Subject, final move on Callum. Execute before December 26th. Fiona's brows tightened. He's expediting power of attorney, she said. Using a guardianship clause based on mental instability. You'd be declared legally unfit. That's not just fraud, I said. That's character assassination with federal teeth. She nodded. And it's happening in 2 days. Cut scene. Marin and I stepped outside. The air bit harder now. Snow like shards. Wind screaming. We reached the car. The tires were slashed. All 4. Marin raised her weapon. We scanned the rooftops. Nothing. Then the driver's seat beeped. Door ajar. She opened it. A red envelope sat on the leather. To Callum of Hawthorne. I opened it. Inside, a note. Handwritten. You were never meant to last. Neither was your name. Marin exhaled through her teeth. He's not just erasing your legacy. He's weaponizing your bloodline. Cut scene. Back at the villa, I checked the files again. There was a folder labeled Gifts. Encrypted. I ran it through Fiona's decryptor. Inside, video footage. Surveillance. Internal estate cameras. One showed Julian in grandfather's study. Weeks before his death. Another, a security cam angle I'd never seen, inside my Chicago apartment. You're being watched 24/7, Marin said. Even now. There was one last file, pre-death memo, HRH, private. I played it. Grandfather's voice. Gravelly. Faint. If you're hearing this, it means my lawyer has failed. Or worse. Pause. I know what Julian's done. I know what he plans to do. That boy was never taught to earn what he inherits. Only how to steal it. Silence. Then. I've placed the original will in the one place none of them would dare look. Cut. Black screen. Marin stared. That's it? That's not a will, I said. That's bait. But where's the location? I turned to the bookshelf. Pulled out the box I hadn't touched in 5 years. Grandfather's last Christmas gift. I'd never opened it. Hands trembling, I peeled the paper back. A black lacquer box. Old. Locked. Inside, a folded letter. To Callum. For the future they'll never let you have. Beneath it, a key. Long ornate. Engraved, RH. I looked up. Marin's eyes were already wide. That's not just a gift, she whispered. That's the key to the estate vault. The one beneath the Chicago ballroom, I said. The original deed. The real will. It's all down there. Cut scene. My phone buzzed. Block number. A text. Fiona's dead. Stay quiet or be next. I looked up at Marin. Her face hardened. I checked her office 20 minutes ago, she said. She didn't answer. But I assumed. Another buzz. A news alert. Breaking, local lawyer dies in car explosion on Highway 82. The image showed Fiona's Audi. Or what was left of it. I staggered back. Hit the table. They knew. We were too late. The will, I said. It has to be recovered before Julian seals the estate transfer. Marin nodded. But if Fiona's dead, they'll know we're coming. I turned to the fire. Stared into the flames. Then reached into the box. The key glinted in my palm. He thinks I'll go quietly. Like everyone else. What are you going to do? Marin asked. I looked her in the eye. I'm going to light the fuse. He tried to bury me with his lies. But I've just unearthed the one thing that can bury him. The ballroom was darker than I remembered. Dust floated in beams of cold light spilling through stained glass. The chandeliers above were off, their crystals dulled by time. It felt like walking into a mausoleum where legacy came to die. Marin walked ahead, flashlight raised, gun holstered but close. I carried the box with the key. We reached the grand piano at the center of the room. I knelt. 3 floor tiles, slightly misaligned. Press, twist, pull. A quiet click echoed. The slab of marble hissed open, hydraulics, decades old but still smooth. A stairwell yawned beneath, swallowed in shadow. We descended. Each step was a century. A war. A betrayal. No cameras. No alarms. At the bottom, a steel vault, 10 feet wide, circular. The engraving above it read, Hawthorne blood. No forgiveness without truth. I inserted the key. A full minute passed. Then, crack. The door opened. Inside, shelves. Files. Tapes. Ledgers. One document lay at the center, in a glass case. Original will, Reginald Hawthorne. Dated 6 months before the version Julian filed. Marin read silently, lips tightening. Julian was disinherited. I was named sole executor. It wasn't just money. It was control. Of the trusts, the board, the Hawthorne Foundation. And a sealed letter. To Callum, for when you're ready to stop surviving and start owning. Cut scene. We took everything. Made 3 copies. Filed one with the state registrar before dawn. The other, with a federal probate judge. Sealed. Witnessed. By 10 a.m., the Hawthorne estate was under injunction. Julian's assets frozen. Cut scene. I watched him get escorted out of his downtown office. Handcuffs. Cameras. A flurry of press. He didn't scream. He smiled. Later, I'd understand why. Cut scene. The following week, Marin and I met in the villa library. She placed her phone on the table. It was burning. Not literally. The messages. The threats. The silence between them. You need to see something, she said. She slid over a thin folder. Inside, hospital records. Confidential memos. Psychiatric evaluations. Not mine. Julian's. For over a year, he was medicated, she said. Diagnosed. Hidden behind layers of paid-off doctors. She flipped to a page marked Project Victorian. It was a plan. A full inheritance redirection strategy. Callum removed via incompetency. Julian appointed with total fiduciary control. The twist? Approved signatures. From a name I trusted. Grace. My mother. Cut scene. She hadn't just signed. She'd helped draft it. I drove to her cottage that night. Knocked once. She opened the door with swollen eyes. I did it to protect you, she said. To stop you from being dragged into his madness. You buried me alive, I said. She didn't argue. Just handed me a box. It was Father's. Inside, a photograph. Me, age 12. In the garden. Father's arm around me. And a note, he's always been the only one who remembered who we were before all this. Cut scene. Julian accepted a plea deal. 5 years minimum. No parole for 3. His final words to me were a whisper during the hearing. This legacy will destroy you too. Cut scene. 2 months later, the villa was quiet. Too quiet. The snow returned. I stood on the balcony, firelight at my back. Marin handed me a glass of bourbon. You think it's over? She asked. It's never over, I said. But I'm finally the one writing the next page. She smiled. So what now? I looked out across the valley. The mountains. The ash of what once was. Now I build, I said. Not for revenge. Not for legacy. But for truth. Because truth doesn't need a name. Just a place to live. And this time, it'll live in mine.